that people realize that they need yoga much later in life when a lot of the damage has been done. Like people will be like 25, 26, 27, be like, oh, I'm an anxious person, or I feel a certain way. So I feel like I learned a lot about going with the flow, basically letting things flow. And I resonated with that a lot. And I feel like it went well with yoga as well, because in yoga also we do like different flows, which helps you put you in a flow state. So my long-term goal is actually to have to inculcate yoga and meditation in schools, going to the grassroots level.
Vanakkam, namaste, and hello everyone. Welcome to the 31st episode of Inside the Minds of Great Yogis. In today's episode, we have a very special guest joining us. And to start off, she is an experienced yoga teacher who's certified by Yoga Alliance as an E-RYT 800-hour teacher. She has a passion for helping her students find a deeper mind-body connection through gentle flow asana practice, meditation, and breath work. Through her teachings, she aims to help others find inner peace, balance, and harmony in their lives. Let's give a big round of applause to Shruti.
Thank you for the lovely introduction.
Hi, Shruti. Thank you so much for joining us today. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. I've had a very relaxing Saturday. I had a massage today, so I've been feeling very relaxed.
That's amazing. So glad to hear that. So welcome to the show today. So I want to start off by asking you, how did your journey of yoga begin?
How did my journey begin? So I started practicing yoga when I was 21, which was about 10 to 12 years ago. And at that point, I was just looking for some form of exercise to do. I didn't love the gym. I wasn't very sporty. So there was this yoga class happening close to my house, and my aunt was like, "Why don't you come try yoga?" And I was like, "No, I'm not flexible. I don't know if I'm gonna like it. It's for maybe like older people." Back then, I was super young, so I was like, "No, I want to do something that the young people do." And back then, not a lot of people were doing yoga that much. So I was like, yeah, okay, I don't know. And then I tried it. And then I started to enjoy it. And it was giving me the physical exercise that I needed. And then eventually I realized that it was helping me more than my physical practice. It was helping me cope with my mental health as well as my emotional health as well. Like I was a very anxious person. I wasn't able to sleep very well. I had a little bit of insomnia. So I noticed that it started helping like the other aspects of my life as well, more than just the physical aspect. So I got deeper and deeper into it. And then I started to regularly practice it. And slowly, I would notice the difference it made in my life. Meditation, I started breath work, I started, and then all of those aspects together, I feel like helped cope with anxiety, helped cope with a lot of other things that I was dealing with emotionally in my relationships with my parents. And I noticed a shift in how my energy was. I noticed a shift in how my relationships were changing. So I started to explore yoga even more. I started doing the Iyengar yoga style of yoga. So I started reading a bunch and learning about the different aspects of yoga and how and why it helps you the way it does. And then 3 years ago, I was like, and back then I used to do a marketing job. And 3 years back, 3.5 years back now, I was like, I can't do a 9 to 5 anymore. Like, I can't do marketing. I can't sit at a desk. There's more to life. And I went away to do my yoga teacher training, which was in Australia. And it was an 800-hour certification. So it was a year-long program, and it included everything that I wanted to learn in one course, which I really liked. Like, it had everything from pranayama to meditation to prenatal yoga to a little bit of anatomy, Ayurveda, nutrition. So I wanted to learn different aspects of yoga, and this course had everything, and it was absolutely beautiful. And initially, what I wanted to do with learning how to do the teacher training is to be able to do yoga myself and not go to a class. I wanted to have all of these um, skills and not knowing whether I actually wanted to go out and teach yet or not, because I wasn't very confident with that. And then slowly after I did my teacher training, I started teaching friends and families yoga. And then the pandemic hit. So I was in Australia. I started teaching my housemates yoga. And I realized that this was so fulfilling and gave me the satisfaction that my other jobs never did. So I was like, I guess I'm a yoga teacher now. And yeah, ever since then, I've been traveling and teaching yoga and meditation, breath work, different styles. And it's been absolutely amazing.
I think that's wonderful. Thank you for sharing that and how you started your journey of yoga. I think that was well said. So yeah, thank you for sharing that. And the next question I want
Yes.
to come into is how has yoga transformed your life?
How has yoga transformed my life? I feel like I did touch upon this a little bit on my first answer as well. Like I said, that yoga helped me uh, work on my relationships with different people, starting with my parents. It helped me to face the world in a way that was more like in a very calm state and in a very like, okay, this is how it's supposed to be, or like, like basically face the world in a better way. So it helped me do that. And also I feel like not just yoga along with traveling was very transformational for me. I learned more about myself. I learned who I really was, and I didn't realize how disconnected I was from my authentic self. So I feel like I saw a shift ever since I started practicing yoga, sharing yoga. I feel like I became a more authentic version of myself. I started to embody what I really like and what was really meant for me, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think that's wonderful and that's well said. And also you mentioned travel, and I think we absolutely love your yoga reels that you share on Instagram. So
Oh, thank you.
yeah, thank you for sharing that. And the next question I want to come into is what is Flow by Shruti and what is your inspiration behind it?
There was a point in my life when pandemic happened, where I was in a space where I was like, why isn't this happening? Why are we in this pandemic? What am I supposed to do now? I have this yoga teacher training, and I was basically stuck at home for like 8 months, and I did a bunch of reading at that point. And back then, I didn't go by flow with Shruti. It was just I was just teaching yoga. There was no real like name or anything behind it. And then I started doing a bunch of reading, and I read a few books about flow state. I read a little bit about being in the flow, trusting the universe, and really taking it as it comes. So I feel like I learned a lot about going with the flow, basically letting things flow,
Mhm.
and I resonated with that a lot. And I feel like it went well with yoga as well, because in yoga also we do like different flows, which helps you put you in a flow state. Going with the flow and incorporating that, I feel like I really resonated with. So it came pretty naturally, felt very organic to have flow as part of my branding, if you'd like to call that. But
Yeah.
it was basically from going with the flow, being in the flow state, and the meditative state that comes from being in.
Yeah, I think that's amazing, and I really like how you mentioned you were inspired by go with the flow, like that concept. And I think that's a very beautiful name, Flow by Shruti. So yeah, thank you for sharing that. And the next question I would like to come into is how do you manage your schedule with yoga? Because like many people, a lot of us have busy schedules and we work and we have our studies, education, and everything. So how do you manage your schedule with yoga?
As a teacher,
Yeah, as a teacher, yeah.
As a teacher, I feel like, so yoga is something that I love doing. So it's not something that I like to overdo, if that makes sense. So I don't go like teach 10 classes a day type of person. Like I can't do that. So my yoga teaching is very limited. I do only private lessons and I do workshops over the weekends in the city. So I don't teach as many classes, but I also do, like, my background is in marketing, like I mentioned before. So I also do freelance social media marketing consultancy. So I work with a few health and wellness brands who I help do marketing with. So yoga is not the only thing I do. I love yoga and I love to do it as a hobby. And the hobby is turned into a business, but it's not to the extent where I'm pushing myself or overdoing it or doing more than I can handle, because I don't want to overdo it, so that until the point that I resent it. Because I
Yeah.
a lot of yoga teachers do that or say that they exhaust themselves, they drain themselves from like going from class to class and doing like so many classes per day or per week.
Yeah.
So I'm very mindful of how many classes I do per week and what type of classes I do, and make sure it doesn't drain me, so that I can still have my love for yoga. And then a lot of the times I'm traveling and teaching yoga, which is a whole different scenario. And then at that point, I'm only teaching yoga, say 1 or 2 classes per day. And then it's usually at a certain yoga retreat or at a hotel or a resort. So it's a whole different schedule there where I'm teaching yoga a couple times a day, and then the rest of the day goes in either doing work if I've picked up any freelance work, or it goes in doing other health and wellness things like cooking my meals, or going for a walk, connecting with nature, studying, learning, reading. So it's always a balance and it's always up and down. I feel like there's no strict schedule. It's again going with the flow with whatever is coming through.
Yeah, well said. I think that's fantastic. In terms of yoga, like a lot of us tend to be busy and everything. And I like how you mentioned how you don't want to overdo it or else you will become tired of it, right? So I definitely agree with that, because you don't want to get tired with the concept of yoga itself. So yeah, I think that's well said. So thank you for sharing that. So now we have some rapid fire questions for you. And the first question is, what do you enjoy most about sharing your yoga journey on Instagram?
On Instagram, I feel like I have met some really cool, like-minded people on Instagram, which is really cool. Like, and then a lot of times people will message me saying, "Oh, I love your vibe. I love your profile. I feel like I want to be on the same journey as well. How do we get started off?" So I feel like a lot of people reach out to ask about how to get started off on their journey, which is really nice to hear, because they've been following me and then they resonate with what I write or what I put out. So that's really nice to hear when people are appreciative about it. And then meeting like-minded people, I say, is really nice as well, because I feel like I've developed communities and like relationships through people I met on Instagram, which has been really nice.
Yeah, that's amazing. Thank you for sharing that. And the next question I want to come into is, do you have any yoga related music recommendations for our listeners and viewers?
I actually always have music on during my classes. A lot of the times I'd put on simple handpan music. So handpan, I'm not sure if you know what a handpan is. It's basically this instrument that creates a really nice humming sound. So a lot of the times I'll just put on handpan music, which is really easy to find on Spotify or YouTube. And then I really like Anushka Shankar's music. I think her music flows really well when it comes to flowing and doing the yoga. So I like her music. Then there's this other artist called FKJ, French Kiwi Juice. His music I really like when I'm just in the mood to like flow and move, because a lot of my flow is related with the music I listen to. So I'd say these three are my top, but then I'm always discovering new music, always playing around with it. And then sometimes I'll do like yoga to hip hop and rap. So honestly, it ranges from like classical music to hip hop. Yeah.
Nice. I think that's awesome. And for our listeners and viewers, definitely do check out the recommendations that Shruti has suggested us. And yeah, thank you for sharing that as well, Shruti. So the final question I want to come into is moving forward, what is your long-term goal that you hope to achieve through yoga?
I've been thinking about this actually, and I have noticed that people realize that they need yoga much later in life when a lot of the damage has been done. Like people will be like 25, 26, 27, be like, oh, I'm an anxious person, or I feel a certain way. And then they'll seek yoga out to help them. But I feel like if yoga is introduced to people in schools while they are younger, while they are growing up, and they inculcate the practice of meditation, yoga, mindfulness at a young age, then a lot of these problems are avoided. So my long-term goal is actually to have to inculcate yoga and meditation in schools, going to the grassroots level. I'm actually in the process of doing a yoga teacher training in kids yoga. So basically, I want to get yoga down to kids, to children, to schools, and make the change starting there. So we grew up to be better adults than growing up and being like, oh my God, I'm an anxious person now. What should I do?
Yeah.
So I feel like the journey should start much sooner than it does. And I feel like if it starts in small doses while people are in school, it would be really helpful. So that's what I want to do long term.
Well,
Eventually.
yeah, well, I wish you the best for your yoga endeavors, and I hope you achieve this goal of yours, because yoga for kids and children is really important, because sometimes, you know, they have their ups and downs, and, you know, mental health as well is really important for children and kids as well. So yeah, thank you for sharing that, and I hope you definitely achieve that goal. And that is the end of our questions. Shruti, thank you so much for joining us on the 31st episode of Inside the Minds of Great Yogis. We appreciate you giving your valuable time, and we hope we can do this again. And thank you to everyone who has yet to listen to our 31st episode of Inside the Minds of Great Yogis. And until next time, have a great day, everyone. And thank you so much for joining us today, Shruti.
Thank you.